Hello everyone, massagebf.com. My name is Ken Francis, and I've made a video kind of similar to this before. It was actually the first video I made for my gun, but I decided I wanted to make a better video to show how to clean your weapon. What I have here, it is November 13th, Friday, 2015. What I have here is a Smith & Wesson SD9mm. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a better video that, so that you can actually see what I'm doing. The last video where I vaguely cleaned out my gun, I was inside of my car and I was in a public place. So I didn't exactly want to really do anything with my gun. Pretty much all guns are going to be pretty much the same. There's not a whole lot different between each handgun. Of course, rifles are a totally different ballgame. But this here's the Smith & Wesson SD9mm, value enhanced is what the VE stands for. Before you can disassemble this gun, you have to actually pull the trigger. So step one would be to clear the weapon. This is very, very important because you're going to have to pull the trigger before you can actually disassemble the weapon. So pull the clip first and then clear the bullet that may or may not be in the chamber, but check it anyway just to be sure. I've never cleaned my weapon before with my tactical flashlight, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. Ouch, that hurt. I was at the shooting range today and I basically fired off about 300 rounds. So yeah, it was pretty cool. What I have here is a standard handgun brush, which pretty much looks like this, usually made out of plastic for the most part. As you can see, it's dirty from other times that I've cleaned my gun. And then the last video that was similar to this one, I was showing this off, but I didn't actually know what it's called. Now I know. It's called a bore snake. So this is actually really, really cool. It's very, very helpful, and it makes cleaning your gun a lot easier. And so I have that. And then I basically have some standard gun oil. This stuff is usually $2 or $3, and it'll last you a really, really long time. Provided you don't spill it, of course. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be using to clean my gun. So now that my gun is actually, cleared, I'm going to pull the trigger one time. Okay, so the trigger's been pulled. Alright, and then we've got these pull down switches. There's one on this side, and there's one over, oops, hit my camera. And then there's one over here as well. So, in my opinion, these pull down switches are kind of a pain in the ass, but when Smith & Wesson made this gun, they basically ripped off the Glock 19. And so that's why they have to pay a fee for every one that they sell to Glock, is because they literally ripped them off. That's the word on the street anyway. But I really don't like these pull downs, even though I do have healthy nails, Ugh, it's kind of a pain in the ass. But actually, let's reset it, okay, because we're actually going to pull the trigger after we pull these down. I'm not going to be able to pull these down after I pull the trigger, so I just reset it by pulling back on the glide there. So let's go ahead and see if we can it'll allow me to. Oh, that's right, duh, I'm forgetting. Okay, so before you do that, you actually have to pull back. Sorry, it's been about a month since I went to the shooting range. But I want to make it a habit of cleaning out my gun whenever I go to the shooting range. So before you actually pull down on those slides, you got to slide back on the gun. About 1/4 of an inch should be fine, and then you should be able to actually go ahead and, there we go. So now it's going to let me pull them down. Okay, and then, so yeah, there we go. And then I pulled the trigger basically right after I release the slide back. It'll go forward. I don't know how well you saw that, but it'll go forward a little bit more than usual. And then you basically just kind of release it and then pull on the trigger. And that's how you actually pull it out. So Here's what the bottom half, this is all polymer plastic right here, essentially. Just polymer, and then you have like some metal parts in there, but it's mainly a very well constructed plastic. And then this whole piece right here is basically all metal, stainless steel. And so it acts as one piece, but it actually breaks down into multiple pieces. And so I'm gonna pull out, this is basically the recoil spring, so I'm gonna pull that out. Okay, real simple. You have the male end here, and then you have the female end, so it's pretty easy to tell, and I'll get into that in a second. And then we have another piece here that slides right out. Okay, and so here's the bore of the gun. This is where the bullet actually pulls through. Something that I found interesting, I've gone to the shooting range 3 times, and I've used 3 different kinds of ammo. And this last time, I've been buying Perfecta ammo, and it's actually surprisingly the cleanest burning ammo that I've ever, 9mm full metal jackets. I was told it's from Italy, but I've been buying it. It's a really good price over the American-made stuff, but the American-made ammo, it tends to like take a shit in my gun, you know, before it leaves. And so, but the Perfecta is actually surprisingly clean. This is way cleaner than what I'm used to seeing after I fire 300 to 350 rounds. And even the inside of the bore, it's actually, it's very clean, surprisingly, you know, by comparison. So that ammo that's made in Italy, that is available here in the US, it's actually surprisingly good ammo. I didn't have a single misfire, didn't have any problems with it. 300 rounds today, and actually no, I had to buy 6 more boxes, and all of my clips were full. So I actually fired 350 rounds, not 300, and I didn't have a single problem at all. And it's actually a very, very clean burn. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean the bore first. And so you'll know that this is the bore because it has the 9mm engraving on it. And so I'm going to take my bore snake here, and just going to go ahead, and I was told that this is machine washable, and it probably is. I mean, it feels like it's constructed really, really well. Although it does have some metal parts here, so I don't know exactly. But I imagine I can probably use this quite a few times before I actually try to clean it out. So, but basically I'm going to take this end of it, this little metal piece, and I'm going to run it through a couple of times each way. Even though it's really surprisingly clean, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, I make it a habit of running it through both sides twice. And so I'm going to go ahead and run it through the same way again, just like before. Okay, and then this time I'm going to run it through the other way. And this time I'm going to pull down on it because I want to get that ramp part right there. I want to make sure I get that clean. It's actually up here, so I'm going to run it downward. See, just like that. And you'll notice that it's a little bit, it's gonna require a little bit of strength, but not a whole lot. So, because those metal parts, that's in the bore snake, you know. So, but anyway, that should be pretty much good. It's looking pretty clean, and it's not going to be perfect, but that's pretty much all I need to do with the bore snake. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of fold it up in the end, okay, just like that. And then fold it again, just like that. And then use the end string here to just kind of wrap it around. So it's a nice, unified, organized tool for the next time that I need it. I'll have it ready and easy to unravel it. So I'm just going to kind of push that through like that, and then that way it doesn't kind of unravel so easily. And so now, let's see. Hold on one second, because I'm kind of multitasking here. All right, cool. So now I'm just going to kind of lightly brush off the recoil spring. It's probably, the recoil spring probably doesn't get dirty at all. So, I mean, but, you know, why not give it a good brush down? And then, so this is the fun part. And basically you can see where the residue is when you're, I mean, I don't know how well my camera's picking it up, but you can kind of see it, you know. So, I mean, just wherever you see residue, that's where you want to brush it. And even though the brush looks dirty, surprisingly, it does a really good job actually picking up the residue. Because you're basically sweeping it kind of like a broom on the floor, you know. You're just kind of sweeping it up. It's not like really sticking to the stainless steel, it's just kind of there. So it's okay if your brush is a little dirty, that's alright. Because you're just kind of brushing it off of the gun, of the pieces of the gun anyway. And just kind of get that real good, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is surprisingly clean for the fact that I just shot 350 rounds. And somebody actually asked me how many bullets are in a round, and I wasn't a dick about it, because honestly I didn't know that. You know what? 2 months ago, not even 3 months ago, I didn't even know the answer to that question. So I wasn't a dick about it, but you know, in case you didn't know, 1 round is 1 bullet. So basically a round is just another word for bullet, essentially. So, I mean, it means the exact same thing. So, you know, I've said in other videos that there are such things as stupid questions, but that's actually not a stupid question at all. You know, so if you didn't know what that was, then, you know, that's okay. I didn't know either. Although I probably could have searched online for the answer, and I probably would have found it very quickly. And of course, you'll notice that you'll get some gun residue on your hands. I mean, that comes right off with like soap and water. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. So when you're putting your gun back together, that's pretty much it when it comes to cleaning. Before I put my gun back together, I'm going to put some gun oil. And it only takes a little bit, but it's nice to keep it lubricated. And so right here on the rails, when I put my slide back on my gun after I reassemble it, the oil is actually going to be evenly spread out on the rails. And so you really don't have to oil the entire rail if you don't want to. But you don't really have to worry about it. And like I said, you know, oil is super cheap. It's not going to be expensive to buy gun oil. But, so, you know, it doesn't hurt if you want to lubricate the whole rail of the gun. But you got to remember that recoil spring, it's there for a reason. There's a lot of friction that's going on the rail of the gun. There's there's tons of friction. And then another place where you can put some gun oil is right here in the middle. Those middle parts right there. There's also friction on those parts as well. So, you know, I just put a little bit of oil pretty much anywhere where there's going to be contact within the gun. And so, you know, but like I said, when I put the slide on, especially the next time I use it, that, you know, the oil is going to spread out really, really well. And so that's pretty much it. And yeah, so I'm not going to put anything on the gun, on the bore of the gun, or the barrel, or whatever you want to call it. So it's funny because whenever I make a video like this, you know, I know what things are called more and more, you know, because I've been learning a lot. So, but anyway, So we're going to put this piece in next. So we're going to take our slide, I guess is what I'm going to call it, and our bore, and then this, you know, and I've said this before in my other video, this is actually, you know, it's impossible to put. What's really, really nice about this gun is that it's idiot proof. I've said this before. But, you know, if you're trying to put a part in the wrong way, you're going to run into a brick wall, and you're going to know that you did something wrong. But, you know, if you're holding your slide upside down with the end of your barrel on this side, then this piece is going to go in there kind of like that, and you're going to have to insert. I mean, it's impossible to put this together in the wrong way. I can assure you of that. You just can't do it. But, you know, so there's that, and basically you're just going to kind of slide it in just like that, and it's going to fit perfectly. And then that way you have that 9mm engraving on the top part of your slide. And so it's literally impossible. And then you have that little peek hole right there that makes a perfect circle. But you'll notice half of the circle is removed when you start to remove that barrel. So it's very, very idiot proof. I mean, you don't have to be intimidated by your gun. The next part, of course, would be your recoil spring, and so you're basically putting the gun back together pretty much the same way that you took it apart, only opposite. So you're going to take that male end, and it's going to go through that hole right underneath your barrel, and you're just going to pop it in, and it's only going to require a little bit of force. And at this point in time, it will move if you put your finger there and try and move it. But that's okay. That's perfectly normal. So, you know, that may, in my particular case, that made me feel a little uncomfortable even after I got instruction from an instructor. That made me feel a little uncomfortable. But, you know, that's nothing to worry about. That's just how they make it. And then the fun part, so you're basically going to take, so here's the back end of the slide, and here's the front end, of course. You know, that's pretty obvious. And so you're basically going to just line up the slide with your black, you know, polymer, essentially. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh yeah, wow, okay. What's going on here? I'm doing this wrong. What am I doing wrong? What in the world am I doing wrong? No, that can't be right. You would think that I would have this down by now, but oh, that's right, duh. Okay, so your slide doesn't start here. Okay, your slide is going to start here. So, yeah, so you're going to take the butt of your gun, line it up, okay, and you're going to basically just start it off right there. And I'm going to give you a good shot of this too so you can see it. So you see that? Okay, and then there you go. And then the gun is put back together at this point. And then you can go ahead and put on your accessories, whatever type of like, you know, like installation that you have. If you have, you know, special equipment to, so yeah, there's that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put the bullet back in the clip here. Okay, there we go. And then pop that in. Pull back on the slide. And now you have a killer in case you need it. That's pretty much it. SD9VE with an attachment flashlight. Thanks for watching. I had fun today at the shooting range. MassageBF.com. And clean your gun. Thanks for watching.